Central Bank of Nigeria has recently sent out a presentation saying the e-Naira will be a legal tender for the entire country. This is part of its draft guidelines to banks. The report said the e-Naira will have non-interest-bearing central bank digital currency status, a transaction limit for customers, value-based transaction limits, of course. According to the report, participants in the e-Naira program will be featured in 5 stages: the monetary authority for the central bank, financial institutions, merchants, and then, of course, end users. So for more on this, of course, we're going to be talking to Dr. Hassan Mahmud, who is the Director of Monetary Policy at the Central Bank of Nigeria. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. So I want to first start off with the fact that the Central Bank is setting up a wallet for the electronic Naira. And the question, of course, was, can you clarify the reason for the CBN e-Naira mobile wallet, since banks can enable access to the e-Naira on their own mobile wallets or mobile apps, and to enable access for merchants? Is the CBN, going to be a competitor with banks in enabling e-Naira access?
Thank you, Russell. CBN is not going to be a competitor to banks. CBN is going to also be participating in that space. Remember, we are going to be launching it in October. So the system, the other banks financial institutions need to integrate to the API of the bank to be able to access this platform. So first phase, CBN will be in control. We want to have a good visibility of that space. But along the line, as we grow and deploy more into the activities of the e-Naira, the banks will be able to upload those the e-wallet was from their own existing system. In any case, the infrastructure is going to be interfacing with what we already have. Remember, we have a very robust payment system infrastructure in place now. The e-Naira will also build on that platform, even though it's going to be on a digital ledger platform that we're going to be using. But we have to have a very smooth, seamless interface with that existing system. Banks, we need to integrate at different stages, depending on the robustness of their current IT infrastructure or technology system. So you don't expect everybody to come on board on the same day, or every of the participants on the system to come on board on the same day. But for day one, yes, CBN will be the deployer of that. Onboarding will be from the CBN e-wallet, and as time goes, you see that cascading down to banks having them on their system, internet, online banking system, apps that are already there. Some of the banks already have e-wallets for cash-based, account-based transaction. This will just be an upload on that. So seamlessly, I think this will fizzle out over time. There's no any kind of competition in terms of central bank and the financial institutions. Indeed, we want the financial institution to be also financial. We don't want to have financial disintegration, which is the highest risk that the financial institutions are worried about. The banks will also play a role here, and that will also contribute to the activities of the banks in terms of the intermediation role. But in this space now, it's going to be a digital form of transaction, in the sense that the e-Naira will be instant payments. The cost is a lot minimal, and the general public will have alternatives to how they want to make their financial or business transactions.
Thank you so much, sir. Very in-depth answer there. Thank you for clearing that up. Now, you mentioned banks onboarding and so on. What about switching platforms? For instance, NIBS, the Nigerian Inter-Bank Settlement System, other switching platforms. Will they be able to integrate as well as far as the e-Naira is concerned?
Yes, of course. They will be able to interface. And as we go on in the current system we have, you see that payment system providers also provide services in the financial system in terms of getting products into the fintech, the other innovations that are coming within the financial system. So banks play that role, telcos play that role, fintechs play that role. All this will be able to integrate into the API of the e-Naira, so that as time goes, new products will be able to develop on that. It's not going to be a static system. It's a system that will be upgrading as products are being developed and approved by the bank, and you see that penetrating more into the financial system, so that you see a more kind of robust payment system platform and ease of making payment, including settlement of of transactions in a very fast, cost-effective, at minimal cost. Some of the costs are actually going to be zero, so that will be the attraction for most other people to come on board. So these other current players, definitely will be able to integrate to this new system and also participate in the activities of the e-Naira.
Great stuff. For interbank transfers, what is the settlement process?
For now, the transfers will have to come to the CBN. The existing system will still prevail, but while e-wallet transactions are initiated maybe by a customer or by e-wallet owner to a bank, the bank will now initiate that to the central bank. Central bank takes the e-Naira to the bank's reserve. The bank takes that from its own e-Naira reserves to the customers, and that system is settled. So you still see it coming back to the central bank. But like I said, as we keep developing on this, there will be a process where the onboarding and the transactions will also take place from the bank's end to just hit the central bank's digital ledger platform, where we have the settlement taking place instantly. However, for now, you would still have to move from the customer, from his e-Naira wallet, demanding for any transactions to take place, so from his e-wallet to his bank, and then the banks to central bank back to the financial institution, then to the customer.
Great stuff.
Which is not much different from what you have now.
Fantastic. So from October launch, once an end user is able to download the app, create the wallet, fund it, user will have access to e-Naira. Specifically for financial institutions, what's the required integration for the October launch?
Well, the KYC, it's very important for you before you can onboard any customer or for a customer to be able to download an e-wallet. The BVN, we know we have 3 tiers of customers: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1s are the on-bank that don't have accounts, and tier 2 and tier 3 are the ones that already have BVN and all other forms of KYC. So the banks will need to have that prerequisite before getting to the system by October 1st, which most banks already have. And so the interface will, we're going to be starting it first in pilots, not necessarily all over the country on day one. So that will also require some stage kind of deployment to take place. But KYC, important. BVN for bank account holders, important. For NIN, for all other, the tier 1 customers will be maybe using their telephone numbers, their addresses, their names, their date of birth. All that will be required for the initial onboarding on October 1st.
Great stuff. I want to ask you about risk management. Who takes liability of financial loss if financial institutions do not validate users?
For now, there's a robust system of addressing issues around fraud or losses. One, everybody takes liability in this. A customer that drops his PIN or his code or his gadget somewhere and his security details are stolen will not say, because I left gave my PIN to my driver, to this money is removed from my bank, from my e-wallet, so the bank or central banks to take liability for that. No, that customer also has a responsibility in terms of what is going on now. If it is the e-Naira is a central bank liability, and central bank is a legal tender issued digital currency, in the sense that it is backed by a central bank fiat. But that does not necessarily mean that if frauds are committed or losses are incurred, 100% it comes to central bank. The distribution, like I said, depends on investigating how that loss occurred in the first place, and the apportionment will also depend on how that turns out. If it is purely the fault of the customer that drops his PIN or gave his PIN out or was careless in revealing some of this information, then it takes full responsibility for it. However, if it's something that's related to operational risk in terms of the system or something like that, then we will know the dispute between the banks or the central bank. But I can't say clearly that, if loss occur, central bank will take it or financial institutions will take it.
Understood.
Or the customer will take it. It all depends on the circumstances around that.
Certainly. So how would you describe how the CBN is approaching fraud management for the e-Naira?
The system itself has an inbuilt fraud management node, so that you have suites of issues to verify, to authenticate, to issue codes and stuff like that. And there are a lot of encryptments that protect intrusions and the attacks on the system. That is inbuilt, but you also know that that is not static. You know, it keeps you keep developing that and keep moderating that and keep building more firewalls. But it is an inbuilt system into the eNaira ecosystem that we're currently developing, and it's part of the initial requirement for any vendor to even come to provide the technology for the take-up of this.
Great stuff. Will the eNaira be available to corporate accounts?
Of course, yes, it will be, but not on October 1st. Either because we want the eNaira is going to be something that we want to deploy like an alternative to the Naira. And as time goes, we should be able to use the eNaira for liquidity management, for financial inclusion, for issues around. So if you want to address some other issues in the financial system, the eNaira should be an alternative to that. But all those will not happen on day one. But as we upgrade, as we integrate different sectors of the economy, then you see that happening, because that is the global trend anyway.
And finally, sir, just a minute if you can, is financial inclusion the main goal here?
Financial inclusion is one of the critical goals, but there are other issues, like I said, around monetary policy, implementations, around payment system improvement, around cost of transactions, around efficiency of the payment system infrastructure, around financial deepening in terms of the access of financial penetration in the economy, around even tax, fiscal issues, because you start getting people onboarding, the data is already there. So even tax administration will be a lot easier for the fiscal authority, and the visibilities of the tax base will also be seen there. So you see a lot of add-ons that will come as benefit of the eNaira.
Fantastic stuff on financial inclusion. Very, very, very important there. Dr. Hassan Mahmud, who is, of course, the Director of Monetary Policy at the Central Bank, thank you so much for joining us to talk about the eNaira. We all look forward to the launch on October 1st and see how things play out. Thank you so much for your time, sir.